At the juncture, the motion has having been moved and seconded. I now propose the question pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 54(1), which is Article 10 and 73 of the Constitution, Section 3 and 16 of the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012, the Leadership and Integrity Act, and the Sections 9, 10, and 12 of the Public Officer Ethics Act 2003. The Public Officer Ethics Act established, among others, the rule of law, democracy, human dignity, courtesy, respect, inclusiveness, equality, human rights, integrity, professionalism, non-discrimination, protection of the marginalized, good governance, transparency, and accountability as part of the national values and the principles of government. 2. Article 10, 73 and 75 of the Constitution requires state officers at all times, whether in the public or private life, to behave in a manner that, among other things, 1. Brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office that a state officer owns. 2. Ensures decisions are not influenced by nepotism, favorism, or other improper motives. And 3. Demonstrates discipline and commitment in service to the people. And 4. Avoids demeaning the office that a state officer owns. 3. Article 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution and Section 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act 2012, the County Government Act, provide for the values and principles of public service and establish an elaborate regulatory framework for the establishment of county public offices and the recruitment, employment, deployment, transfer, and dismissal of county public officers. 4. Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 3 of the County Government Act, and the Standing Order number 65 of the Standing Orders of the County Assembly provide for the impeachment of county governors for 1. Gross violation of the Constitution, 2. Gross violation of any other law, and 3. Abuse of office, and 4. Gross misconduct. 5. The governor has, despite a previous impeachment process and warnings from the Senate, persisted in discrediting acts, the discreditable acts that singly and collectively amount to 1. Gross violation of the Constitution, 2. Gross violation of various national and county laws, 3. Gross abuse of office, and 4. Gross misconduct. Six, the discredited acts have exposed the office of the governor, the office of the deputy governor, the assembly and its leadership, and the people of Meru, the county, to national shame, scandal, embarrassment, ridicule, and disgrace. 7, the discredited acts have created a toxic environment in which the governor cannot be legitimately expected to or relied upon to work harmoniously with the deputy governor, county government staff, MCAs, and other elected leaders. 8, the governor continues to stay in office as persistently undermined effective and efficient services delivery and gravely hurt the interests of the people of the county. And 9, the Assembly resolves to impeach the governor under Article 181 of the Constitution, Section 33 of the County Government Act, and the Standing Orders 65 of the Standing Orders of the Assembly on the following grounds. Count 1, misappropriation and misuse of county resources. 1, the governor has grossly violated, among others, Articles 10, 73, 201, 226, 5, 227, and 232 of the Constitution, Sections 8, 12, 13, 1, 16, 17, and 35 of the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012. The Integrity Act, Section 55 and 66 of the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act 2015, the Procurement Act, and the Sections 45(2) and 46 of the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, the Anti-Corruption Act, by engagement, connivance, or complicity in the following. A, the embezzlement of county funds through the governor's sister, Rose Kinya and Miriam Guantai, brother Kennedy Guantai Murangiri, brother-in-law Nefat Kenywa, and the nephew to the governor's husband, Edwin Mutuma Murangiri, all of whom are from now on collectively referred to as the governor's relatives. B, the withdrawal of county funds and the use of payment for various supplies by the governor's relatives, yet they are, i.e. the governor's relatives, are ineligible to tender for or supply any goods or services to the county government. C, paying full salary and benefits for more than a year to Dr. Ntoit, CEO of County Revenue Board, for Mwaki, CEO of Rika Board, Kenneth Kimathi Baye, CEO of Meru Microfinance, and Joseph Kidure Mberia, CEO of Mcas, while knowing that those officers were not rendering any services to the county, and D, the diversion and misuse of county resources, including funds and motor vehicles, to run the governor's private charity dubbed Korea, despite a previous promise to the Senate in previous impeachment proceedings to refrain from contracting official county operations and Korea operations. 11, evidence of the governor's engagement, canvass, or complicity in the preceding: 1, gross violations of the Constitution and the law; 2, gross misconduct; 3, gross abuse of office is to be found in A, accompanied by Rwanda Sadeshu Mutuma to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the EACC, dated 11th August 2023, and the attachment to it, a copy of which is produced on page 1 to 29 of the exhibit. B, a letter by the clerk of the Assembly dated 9th October 2023, requesting a certified copy of Meru County infamous records, a copy which produced on page 30 of the exhibit. C, a letter by the CCM for Finance dated 11th October 2023, declining to furnish a certified copy of Meru County infamous records on frivolous grounds, thus inviting an adverse inference against the governor in relation to the complaint raised by Mutuma Saresho Durandera, a copy of which is produced on page 132 of the exhibit. D, payslips from Dr. John Toiti, Joseph Kidure Mberia, and Kenneth Kimathi Mbaye, copies of which are produced on page 33 to 41 of the exhibit. And he, the Maua Chief Magistrate Court miscellaneous criminal application number E085 of 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 42 to 47 of the exhibit. F, charge sheets against Sadesho Munene Kanga, Araya Samaritan, and Isaiah Antoribi Keyoki, employees of the county government, relating to the violence that erupted at the governor's of Korea Rally at Makiri, copies of which are produced on pages 48 and 48 to 49 of the exhibit. G, payslips for Sadesho Munene Kanga, Araya Samaritan, and Isaiah Antoribi Keyoki, confirming their status as employees of the county, copies of which are produced on pages 50 to 51 of the exhibits. And H, a video recording of the violence that erupted at the Korea Rally held at Makiri on 16th September 2023, which is saved in the first disc presented herewith, and the transcript of which is produced on pages 52 to 53 of the exhibit. Count 2, nepotism and related unethical practices. The governor has grossly violated, among others, Articles 10, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution. 2. Sections 12, 17, and 24 of the Public Office Ethics Act 2003. 3. Section 13(1)(b), F 16 and 24 of the Leadership Integrity Act 2012, and 4. Section 55, 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act 2012, the County Government Act by engagement, connivance, and or complicity in the following. A. Fraudulently misrepresenting the governor's relatives as a technical team for purposes of travel to China to inspect and certify cancer treatment equipment while knowing that the governor's relatives are not medical professionals. B. Employing Edwin Mutuma Murangeri, who is a nephew to the governor's husband, as the CEO of Meru Youth Service, MYS, and acting chief officer of the Department of Finance. C. The designation of Nefat Kenywa, who is the governor's brother-in-law and the director of external linkages, without transparent and competitive recruitment. And D. Assigning diplomatic duties, namely engagement with the foreign diplomats and dignitaries to unqualified sisters, i.e. Miriam Guantai, PA, and Rose Guantai, bodyguard. 13. Evidence of the governor's engagements, connivance, and or complicity in the proceeding. 1. Gross violation of the Constitution and the law. 2. Gross misconduct. And 3. Gross abuse of office is to be found in A. A letter by the ESCC to the governor dated 19th October 2022 relating to nepotism, cronyism, and other unethical acts, a copy of which is produced on page 54 to 56 of the exhibit. B. The governor responds to the letter alluded to in paragraph A and above, confirming the employment status of the governor's close relative, a copy of which is produced on pages 57 to 59 of the exhibit. C. Letters in English and Chinese by Beijing League Tech Company Limited dated 25th April 2023, inviting the governor to China to benchmark cancer treatment equipment for installation at a cancer treatment center in Meru, copies of which are produced on pages 60 to 67 of the exhibit. D. A letter from the county government to the State Department for Devolution dated 26 May 2023, a copy of which is produced on pages 68 to 75 of the exhibit. E. An internal memo by Kusa Asel to the Principal Secretary, State Department for Devolution dated 5th June 2023, a copy of which is produced on pages 76 to 85 of the exhibit. F. A letter from the State Department for Devolution, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, dated 5th June 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 86 of the exhibit. G. Videos of the governors, relatives in trip to China, which are produced in the first disc presented herewith. H. A letter dated 6th June 2023, describing Nefat Kenywa as the director of external linkages, a copy of which is produced on page 87 of the exhibit. I. A short list and interview schedule for various posts in the office of the governor, dated 6 September 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 88 to 91 of the exhibit. And J. An internal memo dated 23rd August 2023, appointing Edwin Mutuma Murangeri, the CEO of Meru Youth Service, as the acting chief officer, finance, a copy of which is produced on pages 92 to 93 of exhibits. And K. Screen grabs of the governor's official Facebook post on 23rd May 2023, copies of which are produced on pages 94 to 100 of the exhibit. Count 3. Bullying, verification, and demeaning other readers. 14. The governors has grossly violated, among others, 1. Articles 10, 19, 2, 28, 73, 75, and 179 of the Constitution. 2. Section 9B, 19, and 24 of the Public Officers Ethics Act. 3. Section 29 and 34 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, and 4, Section 32 and 3, Section C and D of the County Government Act by engagement, connivance, and or complicity in, among others, the following: A, exclusion of the Deputy Governor from County Executive Committee meetings and other official functions. B, bullying, undermining, and posting, insulting, and demeaning messages about the Deputy Governor in our subgroup, styled than Government 012, whose membership includes several officers who are subordinate to the Deputy Governor. C, encouraging and condoning insubordination and the making of insulting and demeaning public utterances by subordinate staff against the Deputy Governor and other elected leaders. D, bullying, undermining, and posting insulting and demeaning messages about the Deputy Governor in our subgroups styled County and Admin Services, whose membership includes several officers who are subordinate to the Deputy Governor. E, encouraging and condoning the removal of the Deputy Governor by junior officers from official county WhatsApp communication forums. F, arbitrary suspension, dismissal, withdrawal, and frustration of the staff of the offices of the Deputy Governor. G, illegally, irregularly, and fraudulently holding the Deputy Governor's staff out of office by purporting to accept their non-existent resignations. H, arbitrary reduction, suspension, and withdrawal of budgetary facilitation for legitimate operations of the office of the Deputy Governor. I, threatening to inflict bodily harm against the Deputy Governor orally and in WhatsApp chats. J, forcibly breaking entry and sacking of the Deputy Governor's office. K, changing the locks to the Deputy Governor's office. I, arbitrary location of the Deputy Governor's office. M, arbitrary withdrawal of security from the Deputy Governor's residence. And N, persistently making demeaning public utterances against other elected leaders, despite the same issue featuring prominently in the previous impeachment proceedings. O, making insightful, insulting, and demeaning remarks against other leaders by falsely accusing them of cartelism at a presidential Thanksgiving service held in Ilare, despite this issue arising in the previous impeachment proceedings. And lastly, P, encouraging, conniving, and condoning husbands insulting and demeaning public utterances and musical performances against other elected leaders, despite this issue featuring in the previous impeachment proceedings. 15, evidence of the governor's engagement, connivance, and or complicity in the preceding. 1, gross violation of the Constitution and the law. 2, gross misconduct. And 3, gross abuse of office is to be found in A, the answer of the meeting of the Sectoral Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs, and Cohesion held on 29 September 2023, a copy of which is produced on pages 101 to 124 of the exhibits. B, screen grabs from the WhatsApp group styled than Government 012 and Account and Admin Services, copies of which are produced on pages 125 to 194 of the exhibits. C, correspondence relating to the appointment of Patrick Nkonga as the personal assistant, the Deputy Governor, a copy of which is produced on page 195 to 198 of the exhibit. D, a letter by the Governor Chief of Staff dated 22nd May 2023, purporting to accept an existent resignation from Patrick Nkonga, a copy of which is produced on page 199 of the exhibit. The purported resignation of Patrick Nkonga on 18th May 2023 is a publication of the Governor's Chief of Staff. E, a claim by Patrick Nkonga for withheld salary dated 25th August 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 200 to 201 of the exhibit. F, the appointment letter for Kambudo Paul Rikamati as the chief driver to the Deputy Governor dated 30th August 2022, a copy of which is produced on pages 202 to 203 of the exhibits. G, a letter by the Governor Chief of Staff dated 19th May 2023, purporting to accept an non-existent resignation from Kambudo for Gikamati, a copy of which is produced on page 204 of the exhibit. H. A demand letter by Kambudo for Gikamati advocates for withheld salary dated 13th June 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 205 to 211 of the exhibit. I. A letter by the Deputy Governor, Personal Assistant, the Chief of Officer, Public Administration dated 14 July 23, a copy of which is produced on page 212 of the exhibit. J. Correspondence dated 11 August 2023 to 11 September 2023 relating to repairs, services and fuel for the Deputy Governor's official motor vehicle, copies of which are produced on pages 213 to 219 of the exhibit. K. An internal memo by the Deputy Governor, Personal Assistant to the Chief Officer Finance dated 29 August 2023 requesting facilitation to attend a Meru Leaders meeting at the Nakuru State Lounge, a copy of which is produced on pages 220 to 225 of the exhibit. I. An internal memo by the Deputy Governor to the County Secretary relating to CEC meeting dated 25 August 2023, a copy of which is produced on pages 226 of the exhibit. M. Correspondence between the Governor, Chief of Staff, the Deputy Governor, and the County Secretary dated 30th August 2023 to 12th September 2023 relating to the relocation of the Deputy Governor's office, copies of which are produced on pages 227 to 229 of the exhibit. N. A letter by the Deputy Governor to the Speaker of the Meru County Assembly relating to the office facilitation dated 30th August 2023, a copy of which is produced on pages 230 of the exhibit. O. A letter by the Deputy Governor to the Speaker of the Meru County Assembly relating to exclusion from CEC meetings dated 30th August 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 231 of the exhibit. P. A letter by the Deputy Governor to the Secretary of the County Public Service Board relating to the staffing of the Deputy Governor's office dated 30th August 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 232 of the exhibit. Q. A letter by the Deputy Governor to the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya relating to constitution dated 1st September 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 233 of the exhibit. Al. A letter by the Deputy Governor to the Clerk of the Senate relating to an invitation to CEC meeting and office facilitation dated 1st September 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 234 of the exhibits. S. A letter by the Deputy Governor to the Chairperson of the Council of Governors and the Chairpersons of the Deputy Governor's Caucus relating to reconciliation dated 1st September 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 235 of the exhibit. G. An internal memo by the Deputy Governor to the County Secretary dated 11 September 2023, a copy of which is produced on page 236 of the exhibit. U. Receipts evidencing the Deputy Governor's expenses on official motor vehicles after denial of the facilitation, copies of which are produced on pages 237 to 242 of the exhibit. V. Correspondence relating to the invitation of CECM for finance to appear before the Assembly to shed light on complaints by the Deputy Governor, a copy of which is produced on pages 243 to 248 of the exhibit. W. Police OB numbers relating to breaking into the Deputy Governor's office and forgery of his driver's resignation letter, copies of which are produced on page 249 of the exhibit. And X. A video recording of the Governor accusing other leaders of cartelism at a presidential Thanksgiving service held in Lare, which is saved in the first disc presented herewith, and a transcript which is produced on page 250 of the exhibit. Y. Video recording of an insulting, demeaning, and insightful musical performance by the Governor and her husband at Kiotene, which is saved in the first disc presented herewith, and the transcript of which is produced on pages 251 to 252 of the exhibit. Then, video recording of the Governor, Chief of Staff making highly vulgar, insulting, demeaning, and insightful remarks against the Deputy Governor on Vita TV owned by the Governor through relatives and proxies, which is saved in the first disc presented herewith, and the transcript of which is produced on page 447 of the exhibit, and video recording of the governors, the sitting MCA and other elected leaders at a public rally, and boasting of how she easily won previous impeachment proceedings, a copy of which is saved in the press disc presented herewith. Count 4. Illegal appointment and usurpation of statutory powers. The governor has grossly violated, among others, 1. Article 10, 41, 201, 232, 235, and 236 of the Constitution. 2. Section 17 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. 3. Sections 45, 55, 59, 59A, 60, 62, 63, 64, and 65 of the County Government Act. And 4. Section 4 of the Public Appointment County Assemblies Approval Act 2017. 5. Section 34, 3 of the Public Service Commission Act 2017. And 6. Section 9(2) of the Meru County Revenue Board Act 2014. 7. Section 4(2) of the Meru County Alcoholic Drinks Control Act 2014. 8. Section 11(2) of the Meru County Microfinance Corporation Act 2010. And 9. Section 18(2) of the Meru County Water and Sanitation Services Act 2014, by engagement, connivance, and complicity in, among others, the following. A. Appointing Kennedy Mwetiriongo as a chief officer without county assembly approval. B. Sending Dr. Ntoit, CEO of the County Revenue Board, for Mwaki, CEO of Likam Board, Kennedy Kimathi, by managing director of Meru Microfinance Corporation, and Joseph Kidore, Beria, CEO Mcas, on an indefinite compulsory leave with the full salary and benefits, in the usurpation of the powers of the appointing authorities under the relevant Meru County laws. C. Deploying other persons in breach of a court order to perform the functions of the persons alluded to in subgroup C above. D. Appointing unqualified person, Edwin Mutuma Murangiri, Kennedy Mwetiriongo, and Gitobu Kanata as acting chief officers without the requisite competitive recruitment and recommendation of the County Public Service Board. E. Disregarding the criteria for the establishment of offices within the County Public Service by recruiting traffic marshals without the involvement of the County Public Service Board. F. Usurping the powers of the County Public Service Board by creating offices of the traffic marshals, which is the sole preserve of the County Public Service Board. G. Employing unbroken workforce, more than 100 personal staff in the office of the governor. H. Irregularly designating and paying various cleaners as senior support staff, while having 16 support staff. I. Appointing the foreign persons to hold county offices in an acting capacity for more than 6 months. 1. Monica Kawira, Chief Officer Youth. 2. Kwame Muduri, Director of Services. 3. Francis Mungai, CEO, County Revenue Board. 4. Silas Babu Muguna, CEO, Likam Board. 17. Evidence of the governor's engagement, connivance, complicity in the preceding. 1. Gross violation of the Constitution and the law. 2. Gross misconduct, and 3. Gross abuse of office is to be found in A. Documents relating to the staffing needs of the office of the governor, advert and shortlisting of chief officers, copies of which are produced on page 235 to 294 of the exhibit. B. An internal memo by the County Secretary dated 29 August 23, a copy of which is produced on pages 295 to 296 of the exhibit. C. Summons issued by the Assembly Secretarial Committee on Labor, Public Service and Social Welfare on 26 September 2023, copies of which are produced on pages 297 to 310 of the exhibit. D. Response by the County Secretary communicating the decision of the Governor, the Chief of Staff, County Secretary, CCM Finance, and the Fleet Manager not to appear before the Secretarial Committee of the Assembly. thus inviting an adverse interference against the governor, a copy of which is produced on pages 311 to 312 of the exhibit. E. The answer of the meeting of the Secretarial Committee on Labor, Public Service and Social Welfare held on 5th October 2023, a copy of which is produced on pages 313 to 323 of the exhibit. F. The County Public Service Human Resource Manual 2013 and the Public Service Commission Human Resources Manual 2016, relevant extracts of which are produced on pages 324 to 334 of the exhibits. And I'll repeat F. The County Public Service Human Resource Manual 2013 and the Public Service Commission Human Resources Manual 2016, relevant extracts of which are produced on pages 324 to 334 of the exhibit. And G. Internal memo dated 22nd December 2022 by the County Public Service Board to chief officers through the County Secretary advising on transfers, appointment and establishment of offices within the County Public Service, a copy of which is produced on pages 335 of the exhibits. H. Letters sending various officers on compulsory leave, copies of which were produced on pages 336 to 342 of the exhibit. I. Circulars, guidelines from the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, the Transition Authority, and Salaries and Remuneration Commission on the staffing of the Office of the Governor, copies of which are produced on pages 343 to 353 of the exhibits. J. Correspondence relating to the broadened workforce to the Governor's Office, copies of which are produced on pages 354 to 362 of the exhibit. K. Payslips relating to some of the broadened workforce in the Office of the Governors, copies of which are produced on pages 363 to 382 of the exhibits. I. Correspondence between the Assembly and the County Public Service Board on the appointment of chief officers and the employment and of various staff within the Office of the Governor, copies of which are produced on pages 383 to 408 of the exhibit. M. Screen grabs from the Governor's official Facebook page relating to the appointment of traffic marshals, copies of which are produced on pages 409 to 412 of the exhibit, and a video recording of the Governor's flagging of traffic marshals saved in the first disc presented herewith, and a transcript of which is produced on pages 413 to 414 of the exhibit. Count 5, contempt of court. The Governor has grossly violated, among others, Articles 10 and 73 of the Constitution, Section 7 of the Leadership Integrity Act by engagement, and Section 10 of the Public Officer Ethics Act by connivance or complicity in a contaminatious, stubborn refusal to obey law of court orders, evidence of the Governor's engagement, connivance or complicity in this gross violation of the Constitution of the law, gross misconduct, and 2, gross abuse of office is to be found in A. A video recording saved in the first disc presented herewith, and a transcript of which is produced on page 415 of the exhibit. B. An order issued by the Employment and Labor Relations Court on 7th October 2022, a copy of which is produced on pages 416 to 417 of the exhibit. C. A ruling delivered by the Employment and Labor Relations Court at Meru on 29 September 2023, finding the Governor and other persons guilty of contempt, a copy of which is produced on pages 418 to 439 of the exhibit. And D. An order extracted from the ruling alluded to in the preceding subparagraph, a copy of which is produced on pages 440 to 441 of the exhibit. 6. Illegally naming public road after husband. 19. The Governor has grossly violated, among others, Article 10 and 73 of the Constitution, Section 7 and 11(1)(c) of the Meru County Owners and Awards Act 2018 by naming a public road after husband without following the applicable statutory procedures. 20. Evidence of the Governor's engagement, connivance or complicity in the foreseen gross violation of the Constitution and the law. gross misconduct and gross abuse of office to be found in A, a screenshot from the governor's official Facebook page, a copy of which is produced on page 442 of the exhibit, and B, a screenshot from the governor's husband's official Facebook page, a copy of which is produced on page 443 of the exhibit. Count 7, contempt of the assembly. 21. The governor has grossly violated, among others, articles 1, Article 10, 174, 1, 185, 3, and 195 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the County Government Act 2012, and 3, Sections 18 to 22, and 27 of the County 3, Sections 18, 22, and 27 of the County Assembly's Powers and Privileges Act 2017 by engagement, connivance, or complicity in the following: A, refusing to honor off summons to appear before the Assembly Sector Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs, and Cohesion to answer questions on the matters raised in the preceding parts of this impeachment motion. B, the electing a chief of staff and a compliance and lucky in malfeasance to write a contemptuous letter to the Assembly in response to law summons to appear before the Assembly Sector Committee on Legal Justice and Cohesion, and C, in the refusal by a CCM Finance and County Secretary to furnish document to the Assembly on the frivolous grounds that 1, an coherent audit process was underway, and 2, the matters raised by the Assembly were sub judice, the latter frivolous ground being also deciduous and contravened when viewed against the fact that the governor has already been convicted of contempt of court. 22, evidence of the governor engagement and conveyance or complicity in the aforesaid gross violation of the Constitution and the law is to be found in a letter by the governor's chief of staff dated 11th October 2023, a copy of which is produced in pages 444 to 445 of the exhibit. Honorable members, before we begin the debate on the motion that is now, honorable members, before we begin the debate on the motion that is now before the House, it is my fundamental principle in law that an accused person has the right to be heard and to face the accuser on the allegations before them. Indeed, this is the essence of Articles 47 and 50 of our Constitution. To this end, I now invite Her Excellency the Governor of Meru County, whether by herself or by council, to take the floor and make a submissions of the grounds and the particulars of the motion before this Honorable Assembly for a period not exceeding 1 hour. And I have received a letter from one Dunstan Omari, who, as per the letter, is supposed to represent the governor because the governor is not with us. And council, I would wish to invite you this juncture to make your remarks. And Omari, I know you come from the other side of the Meru, you are our cousins. And I don't want you to go back when you go to Kisi and says your cousins in Meru denying you time to make your contribution and defend the governor. In this case, I would ask you kindly, how many hours would you like me to grant you for the purpose that is ahead of you? Omari.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes,
and honorable members who are brothers and sisters by blood. I have quite a monumental task to discharge, and I'll discharge it fairly well. 2.5 hours. Parliament has already asked for more time. Let me play well in my territory. My relatives cannot deny me to hear their son. I have others that are here 2.5 hours. And I'll structure it to allow all the councils. We have split because this is going to be the biggest debate that has ever been done in this country. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, my big cousin and grandson Omari. You know, the Kizis and the Merus are the same. And I believe you will grant you the 2.5 hours that you want, so that when you go back home, you don't tell them ungood stories about the Meru and your cousins. Clerk, know the time. Clerk, please know the time, so that at that time, then we can proceed with our business.